I'm taking a little promo thing. Wee. Okay. We went over a few genres. Folk being the first, blues, and then evolving into rock, like the 50s era, and then when you hit the 60s, you get like 64 is pop, 68 is like hip hop, and then 69 punk, 70s metal. So that brings us to like the 70s essentially, where we're like caught up now.
Yeah.
So music evolving from the 70s, it got kind of interesting.
It really did.
And that's kind of what I would say you and I are more familiar with, and what we kind of like grew up on a little more.
Yeah.
The stuff we covered
'Cause
last week is kind of more just the history aspect, where this is more of like what got us into music.
Because the people who were teenagers when all of this music came out were like adults. They were like our elders. So they showed us all this shit.
Exactly. I remember when my dad would be like listening to old like AC/DC and shit like that. It's like, so I guess technically we kind of grew up on it by proxy, but it wasn't what was like it was just in the background. It wasn't what we were seeking as like as consumers. This is kind of more the pace of what we were looking for.
Yeah. No, I'm saying this, like, I'm talking about like all of this, like from the 70s, 80s, 90s, like that's like our parents.
Yeah. Well,
they went to all of these shows and shit, you know?
Oh yeah, true, I guess. My parents are old as fuck. They're elderly as hell.
I say my mom was like 30. She had 35 or something.
I want to say my mom told me that their first concert was Molly Hatchet, I think, which is like some
That's pretty dope.
Old ass, like, I guess that was considered metal back in the day. But
I don't even know what that is. I couldn't tell you.
It's like old biker rock, and it's a guy that sings like this. Like, he sounds all fucking like
Foghat or what?
Yeah, kinda. It sucked. I was like, ew, why was that the first?
It's kind of like yelly singing, you know?
Yeah, but he sounds like he's singing through, like, he sounds like a frog.
I see trees of...
Red roses too. Yeah. Essentially.
That's what I imagine a frog would sing like. No kizzy. I think there might have been a depiction of a frog singing like that before. That might be where I came up with that.
But yeah, after this, we go into the era of the 70s, breaks into a couple more pillars. We had a debate last week about where electronic would fall under, and it kind of stumped us all. Like, even the chat was like, "No, you gotta make that a pillar on its own." I was like, "Fuck, okay, that kind of makes sense."
Yeah.
So, electronic music. Well, first, before electronic music, actually, we have hardcore. Hardcore is what kind of like broke into after metal, because metal is still very melodic and guitar like driven sounds, where these people are riffing like insane, like going crazy.
Yeah.
You got Iron Maiden, Metallica, fucking, who was the big four again, you said?
The big four was Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax.
That's more for thrash, though, right? They were more like the big four for thrash.
That was like the big four of metal. That was supposed to be like encompass.
Right.
That was like supposed to be the umbrella, you know?
The four nations of metal, pretty much. Like, so,
yeah, because like, you know, Anthrax, they were thrash, but they had that punk aesthetic about them. You know, there was something about them that was like, these guys are fucking crazy. You know.
Yeah, so after metal had evolved from like what Ozzy Osbourne and all that stuff was to like there was also like punk.
People were like, I like that fuzzy guitar. Let me fucking try that on my shit. Yeah.
But it's like punk got heavier too because like metal started setting the stage of like this is what is heavy. Like they started pushing the envelope on how heavy things could get. And punk
Yeah.
kind of was like, hey, we're heavy, we do that too. But they're less melodic. They're less melodic and more satire. Like they have more shit to talk about instead of like more
Yeah.
flash on the instruments that they're playing.
Yeah.
So that's where you get bands like Black Flag, The Descendants, Bad Brains. Yeah, exactly. Like just stuff like that that was like just popping out, and these people who are
Can I say this real quick, bro?
go for it.
So this in this era of hardcore, I've heard so many stories of like just crazy shit happening at shows, even to the point where it's like, oh, we brought pipe bombs. Oh, the police broke up fucking riots, dude.
Yeah,
Full scale riots were breaking out. Police brutality was happening everywhere. All kinds of crazy shit. So if you, I'm sorry, this is a hot take, but don't complain about getting kicked in the face by a hardcore dancer or a crowd killer. It's like it used to be so much
oh
worse.
yeah,
Don't try to say, "Oh, it was never like this back in the day." It's like if you're at a hardcore show and it's a hardcore band playing,
exactly.
you're gonna there's aggression. Aggression is in the air. So I just want to get that off my
Unless you're some fucking neo-Nazi pussy that's out here trying to like spout anti-Semitist bullshit,
Hey, yo,
kindly
fuck
fuck off.
Nazi
No, not even
parties.
kindly. Just fuck yourself. But shit like that, it's those kinds of people who ruin it because they want to be
Yeah.
controversial to an already pretty controversial scene.
Yeah. You want to go where they're going against the status quo and
Hmm.
then go against their status quo. It's like, what the fuck are you
It's like a
doing?
blood going into a crypt like party or whatever, just being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
hello, my bloods," and they're like,
Like, hey
"What?"
guys. They're like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so hardcore was kind of popping off around this early 70s, like 71, 72-ish, something like that. And while this crazy like social like the whole thing that is very political, the stuff they're singing about is very political to what's happening in the world at that time. And at the same time, there's a genre happening with the complete opposite effect, where they're just electronic music. In 1973, you have Brian Eno, who starts a whole revolution of just the first album fully synthesized, making no like statement with his sounds, just trying to paint a world or a soundscape of it, which I think is interesting because then how we were just earlier, we had a fucking Daft Punk song stuck in our head while we were like just getting ready for this fucking thing, and it's
Yeah.
things like that, like electronic has influenced what is modern music now. Because I'd beg to say you can't really listen to a song now that doesn't have some kind of like synthesizer or like electronic element inside of it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Brian Eno was like the OG of that. So that happened in like 73-ish, I think, when his first album came out. And so those two major contrasting genres happening at the, like almost at the same time. Then you get what is rap. So he covered hip hop, which I think is like more of a mentality. Like hip hop is kind of like
Hip
doing.
hop is like it more focuses around and encompasses like black culture. I feel like,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, it's definitely more
Although
of a
rap came
subculture
from hip
thing.
hop, I feel like rap like you can be a rapper. like all hip hop artists are rappers pretty much, but not all rappers are hip hop artists, you know?
And not all rappers are MCs. It's like
That's
there's
true, yeah.
it's just like a very fine line. Like we're trying to define that line. But
Yeah.
it's very much I wanted to include rap as a different genre because you get in later years of I don't even want to say maybe the 80s. Yeah, you have like Far Side and
You
like
have Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys. Fuck yeah, that's true. And that's also like hardcore too, like a derivative you could say where it's more aggressive and not like a laid back almost like shuffly beat. Now it's more of a dun dun ka dun 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 ka. Like they're doing like heavy
Yeah.
stuff, and the rapping is it's about cadence, how we were saying
Yeah.
earlier. It's all about
Yeah.
cadence at this point. They're not caring really much about the subject matter. It's all about how they're delivering
Exactly.
and just like a like super
Yeah. I would
fast.
say like hip hop has like more of like the the art form of like your pen work and like caring about what you're saying, making references, double entendres, all
Hmm.
kinds of shit. I think like stuff that people like Kendrick encompass, Tyler the Creator's more recent stuff encompasses that kind of feel as well. Schoolboy Q does it sometimes. And then there's rapping where it's like rapping is what they're doing, you know? And then there's like rappers and then there's hip hop artists, you know?
Yeah, because
Not
you
to
can
say that
say that
rap
the
aren't artists.
fucking that Alchemist is a hip hop producer, and there are rap producers too. Like there are people who produce beats for solely like rap artists and not necessarily can do like a boom bap beat or something that falls more under the line of something that's hip hop. So I think they are the same. They're two sides of the same coin, essentially. Sugar Hill Gang happened, and that was like hip hop rap ish. But then you have bands like Beastie Boys and stuff. And then
Yeah.
shoegaze, I had to put down because if you think about it, what modern music is now has been massively influenced by shoegaze. And a lot of people don't even recognize that right now because they're just like, oh, I thought this was just like dream pop or some whatever the hell. And I'm like, no, that's
I thought
shoegaze.
Deftones was just new metal.
But yeah, it's
That's what
things
I
like that.
said
It's
yesterday.
things like that. Like Deftones definitely was a new metal band in their first half of their career, but they transitioned more to be a shoegaze band because after Chino threw out his vocal cords and couldn't scream anymore, they were like, we're not stopping making music. Like, they just
Which
had
I
to
mean,
adapt.
honestly, he was screeching, you know, like a lot of his stuff
Oh,
was like screechy.
so good, though. God. I
Yeah, he's
love it.
great.
I love it. Yeah, so Deftones, and then now you have bands like Loathe, because in the back like half of shoegaze when it happened in the like early '80s, late '70s, maybe you
Yeah.
have you have these people who are experimenting with, I guess, post punk. Like it's post punk, but just lathered in fucking distortion and delay and all these different chorus, like all these different effects through their pedal board. And that's where the term shoegaze comes from, is the guitarists are like staring down at their pedal board the entire time.
Wait,
So
would you consider the number 12 looks like you shoegaze?
nah,
I mean, you can use
they're
a lot of effects on their guitars.
they're crazy as fuck. They're more like they're like proggy, not
They're
proggy.
like extreme experimental
Yeah.
reggae. No, I'm just
They're almost scrams, I would say. They have like,
they're really good.
but they have like weird. They're just all over the place,
Yeah, they are.
and that's another cool thing because when we get to go into bands like that, like how you were talking about in the last episode, Kim Dracula, and like just Machine Girl and things like that, where it's just an amalgamation of different genres all just fucking pressed into one band. But yeah, shoegaze. You had My Bloody Valentine put out their first album, and it was really like harshly received by the masses because no one quite understood it at the time. And then you have bands like Sonic Youth come out from that, and they kind of just popularize the sound and make it a little more digestible so people can feel it out and start writing it, or like not necessarily writing it, but implementing that sound into their other mix of sounds that they want to do later.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought shoegaze is really important. And then
Shoegaze is really interesting. It's new to me. Honestly, it's really new to me. I'm going to be looking more into it because I saw a list of bands and I was like, I listened to that. I listened to that. So it's
it's
something that
funny
I
because
want to
it's not new to you. You just weren't aware.
Yeah.
Like you have listened to shoegaze. You just were like, oh, there's the line. Now I found
Yeah.
like the line has been defined again. Like it's there. It is.
Yeah.
Because now it's really in a contemporary sense because it only happened about 20 years ago, so it's making its circle back. Shoegaze has been pretty popular, and then now
For sure, for sure. I
in
think one of my favorite bands, Hands Like Houses, I think their newer album EP thing probably come off as shoegaze.
falls under the shoegaze.
Ayala.
Yeah, so after shoegaze, which was like early 80s, I was saying in the mid 80s, like 86ish, you have the unwanted and just so poetically spoken version of what emo becomes. Like, you have Rites of Spring come out with their first debut album, and it's just the most moody emo. Like, they called it emotive hardcore back in the day, and that was like the first blurb that was like spoken into existence. And of course they thought it was stupid. They were like, don't call us that.
That's what happens every time something new comes around. The people who were listening to whatever was popular before is like, man, that's stupid. Don't do that.
Well,
And then it's
especially when you have these people who try to be very mysterious and like try to talk like, we don't do anything special. We just write music because we feel something. And it's like, well, just because you guys do that so authentically, you happen to invent a genre. And they're like, no, we didn't. Shut up. Like they in true emo fashion.
they deny the emo. They're like, no, we're just hardcore but sad.
Full on imposter syndrome. I'm like, dude,
Exactly.
that's emo to the core. Like you literally can't even accept the fact that you did something amazing that changed music.
Yeah, it really did.
Like
That's why all these other bands get that's why I feel like all these other bands get a rap for like creating emo or like being the first wave of emo, is because the early emo bands didn't think that they were emo. They didn't know it didn't exist. So they were just like, no, we like hardcore music. We make hardcore music, but it's a different emotion. We're sad. And it's like, yes, emo.
and it's funny because that is like after emo, if you think about it like in this way, because I have post-hardcore on here as well, which happened a little bit later, which I would say got defined more later, but the guys who were all in Rites of Spring who invented emo, they were produced by Ian MacKaye, who was in Minor Threat at the time, and they formed a band called Fugazi, Fugazi, which also could be considered one of the first post-hardcore bands. So again, these guys, these emotive hardcore guys, breaking through with another style of music that people are like, oh my god, this is so groundbreaking, and they're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It isn't.
And if you guys want an example, like a modern example of that exact style of emo, just modern, you check out bands like La Dispute and Being as an Ocean.
Or even
They're
like
really
so I would think they would fall more under, no, you're right, because there's still like that like true emo. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they're
still
like the
not
first wave emo, but
watered down
in
with
the
the
future.
indie side of things yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, because whenever you have after emo, grunge is happening like at the same time. So that's like the birth of emo, where people aren't even calling it emo yet. It's just emotive hardcore, and if you call me
yeah,
emo, I'm gonna whoop your ass type shit. So it's not quite defined, but
yeah,
there it is. It's happening, and then grunge is being formed by a Washington punk band or Seattle punk band. What am I saying? Fucking Nirvana. They make their first album,
Was I
and
supposed to say that?
boom.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Nirvana just creates a new genre on accident as well. Like they
Yeah,
play punk music, but they happen to have such a like docile, like weird, like the way he
you want to know my
sings. So
favorite
ooh.
Nirvana quote? It's I think it was Dave Grohl said one time. We were just a bunch of guys who were trying to play the music that we listened to, but we didn't know what we were doing, so we accidentally created something, which is exactly what we've been saying. It happened.
Yeah,
That's how like all of these were created, pretty much.
and it's cool because every time I feel like that it's actually created, the people are super humble about it, and that's how you know that's when it was concepted. Not when people are like, "We're the first emo band, we're the first grunge band, we're the first punk." Like, it's always when they're like, "Nuh-uh, not yet, not yet." Of course,
Yeah,
that's when it's being developed. So it's like
yeah.
that's why I think that's
There's
so
still that
important.
denial in the air.
Yeah,
It's like, no, dude,
yeah. They're like, "This is just me
I'm not doing
writing music."
that.
So after you have
Exactly.
grunge takes over for a while, like all the way up to like 94 ish, 95 ish. And you kind of have screamo and post
It
hardcore happening
was a
at the
good
same
run.
time. Like these
We had a good run.
two badass genres explode because how we were talking about Fugazi and Rites of Spring kind of planted those seeds, and then in later years you'll have At the Drive-In, who I would say, well, before At the Drive-In, you have Indian Summer. They start up a style of like emo that is more guttural and melodic, and just like they took emo to the point of it being like, ouch, ow, my painful heart,
Yeah,
it's dying. Like
yeah. And this
they,
is like 1996. We're at.
yeah, it's just getting more. They take that style of like what emo hardcore is and just get darker with it, and that's what I think Scrams becomes, like this more angstier version of what emo is, because you can have emo songs that aren't angry, but every
Yeah,
Scram song I feel like has an angry, sad undertone to it. Like it's the opposite
yeah.
side of emo,
Like
Scrams and
I feel
emo.
like so with Scrams, I feel like it's more like chaotic. So shit, maybe we could put this with subgenres. You know, like the chaotic neutral or like chaotic
Yeah,
whatever. Fucking Scrams is like chaotic chaos.
it is. So how you were talking about the number 12 looks like you're, what is it? What are they called?
Yeah, exactly like you said.
Yeah. The fucking, they're like Scrams. Like that's the type of shit where it's more like you listen to it, it's not going to be the first thing you show your friends if you get the ox, you know, like
Okay,
not,
so like basically my mind combined Scrams with post hardcore. I always thought when someone said screamo, they were like making fun of that, like the everything that has screams. They were just like, "Oh, screamo." So I was like,
so
"No,
that
screamo isn't a thing." I always thought like, "Oh, that's not a fucking genre,"
there
you
was,
know?
that is a big misconception because screamo is scrams. Like they're the same thing. It's just scrams is a slang word for like the good shit. Like that's what you call good screamo. That's like the real
That
screamo is
fucking primo Colombian
yeah.
screamo,
So
man.
screamo is when you do add pop punk to scrams. So it's like the opposite. Screamo is like when you're like making fun of scrams,
Well,
being like, oh yeah, that's
post hardcore is screamo, but with actual song structure.
so yeah. But post hardcore, I would say, is more. Yeah, it's structured to be more serious and like less goofy, I guess. Like screamo can be like I the first band that I always think of when I think of screamo is like Chiodos. Like not to say they're silly or whatever, but they
Screamo?
have
You mean? I thought you meant like post hardcore.
no screamo. Cause that's where this is where I'm talking. Like scrams is like the heavy shit, and screamo's like the lighter. But post hardcore is
Yeah,
where it gets
Diodos is not heavy. Diodos is
yeah, there's screamo, and then post hardcore is be like when at the drive-in. How we're talking about, they're more technical. It's like the post version of hardcore, being like you
I'm
have
confused because I think it's screamo. I thought screamo was. What are you saying here? Because I thought that fucking. At this
scrams.
point, I'm pretty sure post-hardcore had
So
evolved
scrams
into
and
like.
screamo on like a like uh a scale of what is it called? Like a litmus scale, you know what I'm talking about? Like when something's neutral and acidic or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
On a scale from screamo to scrams, they're the same thing. So it's like screamo, but one side of it is scrams and the other side of it is screamo, but they're both the same thing. There's just like something can fall in there and it be like, oh, it's leaning more towards scrams, but they're both the same thing. If that makes sense. Like
it
you,
makes sense, but I feel like Chiodos leans more into the post-hardcore
yeah,
side
definitely. So I guess
than they do this. I would say like in the moments where they're like, dan 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 dan.
okay.
That's
So
like
on this
that
little
has that scram.
on this chart thingy, let's say scrams is the this end and post hardcore is this end. So everything in between
Yeah,
that is like screamo. So post hardcore is
yeah.
at the peak most technical, and then the most chaotic is scrams, and then everything in between that is like screamo or whatever. That
I would say you put Chiodos like barely on the post-hardcore side, like barely on the
yeah,
post-hardcore
yeah,
for their earlier albums. Once they get down to like the album Devil, it's definitely like it's not that anymore. It's more like
no,
post-hardcore for sure,
yeah.
100%.
Especially like in later years when I figured out more, I guess, what post hardcore is. Because again, we had a debate today on metalcore and post hardcore. I wish we would have been
Yeah, yeah,
filming
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll
Yeah,
talk about it.
but the post hardcore things, there's bands like at the drive-in, like I was explaining, they're one of the ones who kind of like paved that road for it being a bit chaotic, but just making it beautiful and technical enough for people to enjoy it. Like Dance Gavin Dance is a prime
Chaotic,
example.
chaotic neutral.
Yeah. Or chaotic good. They're like super like it's like
Well, Dance Gavin Dance.
yeah, it's like made for the masses, but it's also like made.
It's
It's like
it's made for the masses, but there's fanfare.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Yup. That's a
Yeah,
perfect way to
because
put it.
honestly, they still leave their root sound in, but they also evolved into this mega pop band.
Because there's a big controversy about what genre would you consider Hawthorne Heights? And a lot of people always go, "Oh,
That
they're
one is
emo,
Hawthorne
obviously,"
Heights.
but they're not. They're not emo.
Hawthorne Heights has emo songs, and then they have post-hardcore
But
songs.
see, they're way more. When I
They
figured
they
that, they're
they
like,
go like that with that though. Like
it is true because they do have those sad ballads that are fucking emo as fuck. But then
yeah,
you got songs where they're just what is it? Ohio is for Lovers. People consider
that's a
that
post-hardcore.
that's a post hardcore song, dude.
It's a banger, dude.
It is,
That's what I have been telling people. Thank you for understanding
and
that.
that's the thing. People are like, "That's an emo classic," and I'm like, "It's not even fucking." Like it makes
Yeah.
me so raged.
The whole emo night thing is like so crazy to me whenever I saw like the lineup for the whole emo nights and everything. I was like, what is all of
Dude,
this?
they
Like
call it
this
Jimmy Eat Wednesday, and then they never play any Jimmy Eat
they
World.
don't have Jimmy. Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? And see, Jimmy Eat World is a perfect example of what like emo flourishes
Mhm.
into, because you have Rites of Spring was never. They tried to be hardcore and they failed miserably and made emo. Like they were like, this is our attempt at hardcore. That's why I think that's so
Yeah.
beautiful, because they started making something that paved the road to for people to just express themselves in a cathartic way, and
Yeah.
that's just emo as fuck. Like when
Yeah.
you're
They were
singing a
like
song about you personally, like
they basically created something and they were like, oh man, fuck, dude, that's not what I wanted. And then someone else was like, but it's what I
right.
wanted.
And that's where you get like the race of it, because then you have Cap'n Jazz, who also doesn't really like accept the
Rap and
fact
jazz,
they're
that's crazy.
yeah,
Okay.
they're so good.
That's a name drop right there.
Yeah, I love them, dude. That's like one of my favorite bands ever. And
Oh, a controversial topic right here after you're done with that.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, a lot of people say shit about this band in particular. So I want your opinion on Sunny Day Realist.
See, that's the tough one too, because they're like, it's emo. They're in the umbrella of emo, but they have indie songs, and then they have
Yeah.
like post hardcore songs, and
Yeah. They're like
overall
that,
though,
right?
I would say they're an emo band though. Like I would say
Yeah.
they fall under emo because
Thank you.
it's so like sad. All of their shit is
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, they made I would say they made some of the blueprints that we see in like a lot of the mainstream rock from 2002 to 2007, you know, with like the Papa Roaches and the Evanescences and shit like
See, and yeah,
they
that's where
they formatted
emo
a lot of that.
commercialized. Yeah, that's when emo became an aesthetic. That's like emo was no longer a style of music. It was a fucking hairstyle and a fucking
Yeah.
clothing style and things like that.
Yeah, it became like a lifestyle. Like punk is not only a genre, it's like a
It's
how
a
you dress,
fashion.
how
Yeah,
you are, you know, like that's what
exactly.
emo became as well. It became like this is what I am. It's not like hip hop where you can just have like fucking you could just have like a dude in a t-shirt and jeans. He's
And
like,
it's like you
I'm a
had to
fucking
know
rapper.
about those
It's like
bands at
that
that
guy's the
time.
fucking goat, you know.
Yeah.
He's just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Not like emo at that point was all like, no, you're wearing, you gotta have that straight hair, you gotta have it in your face, that deep V with the fucking skinnies and the
The
toms.
big
That's what.
parka with the fur and shit and all fucking
yeah,
yeah, it was cringy in hindsight, but that was
it was fun.
it was
It
fucking
was good
awesome.
fun,
It
dude.
was, dude. It was great
Yeah, a
fun.
lot of it was satire, and I think a lot of people don't understand.
See, I think that's where I got my fill from, like the kayfabe of what wrestling is, because I did a lot of like I was always a theater kid at heart. I guess I never actually went into
Well,
doing that shit.
the this is the one thing I'll say about it. And someone brought the rapper, not Trippy Red, but it's from the same. I think they were on the same freshman class. It's one of the guys that always writes with Kanye, but he had him in the front row, and he was basically explaining to him that, like, yeah, like people who write music and people who act are the people who mainly understand professional wrestling. You really have to have like a art. It's like an art form, you know. Like
That's funny.
you have to have an art,
That's
like a set of
yeah.
art.
Because it is a
Because
performance. I can respect wrestling completely. I just don't. I'm not like invested in it the way people are. But from afar, I can be like, "That's sick." I used to hate the shit out of it, but now I get it. Like ever since I started performing, like there is people want to be entertained. Like this is like at the end of the day, people will literally pay
got
money
to
to
give
be
the
entertained.
people what they want.
True, it's true.
Excalibur.
No, because I've done it as a kid growing up. I've spent all of my like allowance on just entertainment, media, things that would like, I could remember over time and like share those memories with other people. It's all like an experience, a shared experience. Because
Yeah.
something comes out and you're like, did you get the new whatever, like the new album that just dropped? Or like, you can talk about it to people and stuff like
GNX,
that. I don't know what that is.
Kendrick's new album.
Oh, I'm behind. I've only listened to the last one. He just dropped that like a
Mr.
month
Morale.
ago, right?
Yeah, dude, that's heavy on my repeat. I know like all the fucking words already
See,
from
and
start to
that's
finish.
that's another cool thing because you get hip hop and rap and whatever like you want to call it have changed so much. Because Kendrick in his early years was straight up a rapper. Like he was what I would consider a rapper
Yeah.
in the sense of like To Pimp a Butterfly is a fucking rap album, and and then now that last album, what is it called? I forgot. You just
GNX,
no, the one before that.
Mr. Morale.
Yeah, that one is
Mr.
like,
Morale and the Big Steppers.
what even is that album considered?
That album is a art.
It,
That album
dude,
is
it's
not. You can't put a genre to
it's
that.
like avant-garde. Yeah, exactly. There's like no genre to it. That's what I respect about Kendrick so much, is he's always trying to push that envelope and like
Yeah. If you
there.
like Mr. Morale, you should check out Chromacopia, which a lot of people consider that Tyler the Creator's Mr. Morale.
I haven't listened to it in its completion, but I need to. It was good from what I heard so far.
Yeah.
But I've heard of
I
all of Mr. Morale. Is it Mr. Morale?
Yeah, it's called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yeah, because my homie plays that shit on repeat, and I'm like, I I can respect the fuck out of it.
There's some songs in there. If you're listening to that with your homie, there's just a few uncomfortable songs in there.
I can't
I think
remember.
there's a song in there where it's like the whole song is just him and his wife yelling at each other.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
Oh wait, that's not on Mr. Morale.
Yeah, because that one's about him like being in love with his wife and shit, right?
Yeah, but there's one where there's even like stuff on the new record where they're like arguing.
I need to
But it's
check
not
out
like
the.
arguing, it's like
It's a skit, like a fucking
yeah.
hell yeah. But yeah, that's like where I think it gets all now, like to modern day, we're starting to see different genres because all these ones are clashing. Like metalcore too. I would want to consider that to be in this little circle on the outside, just to like link it all together, because metalcore is completely different from post-hardcore and all that. Like they're different as fuck. And then there's
Yeah.
there's other
And then
genres
there's
out now
okay,
that are
so
influenced
okay.
from metalcore.
So to touch on what we were arguing about later, do you think we should have a middle point, a middle genre called like post metalcore? And that's where
Well,
we
no,
would put bands like Woe Is Me and Asking Alexandria.
we could just do core because I was thinking like just because
Yeah, well,
core
chorus. Like,
eventually there are genres that become just so and so core. Like you have Nintendo
yeah,
core, you have fucking I can't think of anything else right now.
Nintendo Core. What is
Dude,
that? That's don't say
Horse
it.
the
Sky
band.
Airplane. How you say?
Oh,
Yeah,
Sky Eats Airplanes too. They're the shit.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Sounds in the
era.
ocean. That song was fire.
Just
Bum, bum, bam, bum.
those like yeah, synthy ass crazy. It's just it not even it's just like there were bands who were
Video
literally putting
gamey.
video game yeah
Like 8-bit. Yeah.
samples. So sick.
Awesome. Awesome. We're gonna get to all of that. We're gonna get to all
Exactly.
of
Those are the genres that I'm like
that. That's what I'm like salivating for.
exactly.
Like, let's talk about it.
But yeah, metalcore
That
like
right
towards
there
the
is a
end of the
taco.
90s.
That is a taco with 2 hot dogs. All right, and let's talk about it. Not a sandwich.
Is a hot dog a taco?
It's a rage bait. It's a rage bait. I'm rage baiting.
That would be gnarly. That is a gnarly fucking debate.
That's a fucking taco, dog.
Now I'm like, oh, god damn it. Is it
Is it a taco or
hot
is it a
dogs? It is pretty much a taco though. You right. Can't say you're wrong.
Proof is in the pudding.
True. But yeah, the metalcore scene I think kind of started towards the late 90s or mid 90s maybe because 96 is when post-hardcore I would say was like defined. And then
Yeah.
towards like the latter half of the 90s then you got metalcore. Yeah, and metalcore being one of them.
Trap metal.
It's like that new metal shit, yeah. New metal was like in the 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah, once you get to like 2004, I say, who do you say like created metal? A lot of people say Atreyu.
Metalcore?
Yeah.
I say Zao. I was telling you about them earlier. They're like,
Wow.
it's very. It's metalcore. I think it's just straight up like. And then back to how they were just trying to make metal. They didn't know what they were doing. And then people were like, "This is a completely different genre." And
Yeah.
I want to say as I lay dying and well, let me fact check myself real quick.
Go ahead and do that. A lot of people say Atreyu. I don't know.
When was the first metalcore album?
Earth Crisis with
Since
their
this
album Destroy the Machines. That's the first answer. Then there's New York City's Marauder released their album Master Killer in 96, which is believable because remember that Pantera was doing these breakdowns in the 80s
true.
and Metallica as well. So it's possible that there were seeds of metalcore in the 90s. They just didn't come to fruition until about 2002,
No,
2004.
that's what I'm saying. Zao was in the 90s for sure. They were like 90. Let me see.
How do you spell that?
It's just Z A or Z O A. No, I can't wait up.
ZAO. That's not.
It's Z A O. Oh, 1992 is when it came out.
93. Founded in March '93, Zao has hosted several musicians and endured numerous roster.
Damn, they're older than I thought.
Holy crap, that is a lot of fucking roster change.
But yeah, I would say these guys are kind of like the first like metalcore in its full essence without realizing that they were doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense because whenever I see the picture right here, one of them's wearing a Metallica. It's a
Yeah.
very old.
And how you were saying, it's very much like they took that older style of metal and then formatted that to just be like, how much heavier can we make that? How can we just break that down and just make it more dun 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 dun, like just break down.
They were like, damn, that shit. Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. And then also later towards fucking like 2005, 2006, hardcore and metalcore combined to create a genre that I consider to be called heavy hard, which would consist of bands like Knocked Loose and
See those.
uh
Where
like
would you fall Slam then? Where would Slam fall under? Because that's kind of what I would fall like Knocked Loose and all that type of shit, like Gorilla Biscuits and shit like that, or even Tsunami. It's like fucking like that.
Tsunami though.
It's just like
Okay.
that barky like I don't want you, but like just screaming and yeah.
Yeah, I would say heavy hardcore because the early hardcore punk, it was more like I don't want to fuck around it and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Just and then at a point, it became heavy hardcore, is what I call it.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Wouldn't heavy hardcore just be slam? Wouldn't that be like the actual term for it?
Okay, yeah.
Because slam would be
exactly what slam is, and I don't want to piss anybody off out there that listens to that. So I'm gonna look that up.
Slam bands. Well, that's not what
sloppy death metal, usually with bad production, slow mid tempos, deep guttural vocals. Okay, so slam is more like that shit that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, because it has influences of hardcore punk too.
It's like that grind. It's like okay, so it's a more chaotic version of death.
Everyone's saying Peeling Flesh. Let's check out Peeling Flesh real quick. Yeah, this is exactly what I was like kind of thinking. I don't know if you can hear it.
I cannot hear. Yeah, so no, this is not the same as what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. What is a band like that you're thinking?
The most ideal heavy hardcore band would be Kublai Khan.
Kublai Khan.
Yeah, Kublai Khan TA. It takes the metal aspect, the guitar tones of metal, and then it applies it to hardcore music, and then they're screaming as well. So it's like metal. It's almost thrashy, you know, or not almost thrashy. It's
See,
like,
this is why Wikipedia sometimes. That's why we have to figure this line out. Because I looked up what genre Kublai Khan is. It says just metalcore. I'm like, that's
not go listen to it.
No, I've listened to Kublai Khan. They're not metalcore at all.
That's what I'm saying. It's like hardcore. It's heavy hardcore.
See,
is what I would call.
That's why we gotta do our own research.
That's why we're defining the line, dog.
Yes, yes. It literally just says genre metal. I'm like, shut the fuck up. What the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. We're defining these lines, and I'm declaring right now, heavy hardcore is a genre. Knocked Loose.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna look up what genre, because they would fall under the same as Hatebreed in my opinion. Would you agree?
I don't listen to fucking Hatebreed. Their
Really?
logo is lame as shit.
You don't like
Every time I
Hatebreed?
see their logo, I'm like, ugh, get the fuck out of
The
here.
logo is lame as fuck, but I figured since you were into wrestling, you'd probably like them. Oh, it
Nah,
just
it's
says
just I
metal
hear
too.
I hear the word Hatebreed, and I'm just like, it just gives me like toxic masculinity vibes, like out the ass. I'm just like, I don't know. I just never checked them out. I think there was "Destroy Everything" is the only song I've ever heard by them.
They have a song called Defeatist that's really good. I
Oh
used to
yeah, this
jam
is
the
heavy
phone.
hardcore. This is heavy, yeah. And then like the band Terror. If you ever heard the
Hmm.
band Terror,
Hmm.
the band Terror also would apply to this. The Return to Strength and Keepers of the Faith, Hard Lessons.
We have to call it something cooler than just heavy hardcore.
That's what it is, though.
Oh, here beat down. That's the term.
No, Beatdown is okay. Beatdown is heavy hardcore, but slowed the fuck down. It's like if you
Okay.
took heavy hardcore songs and just like changed the BPM to half of what it was to begin with.
Yeah, because it's saying hate breed is like beat down. I'm like, yeah, there's another term that I just couldn't think
Nah,
of. But yeah, I I don't know.
Beatdown is look up. Let's see if you're using YouTube, right?
I'm just on Google. Gurgle.
Go to this band on YouTube. Look up Overthrower, Overthrower, one word. Uh, what's it called? The song "The Free World." Yeah, that is down tempo. Or yeah, this is beat down music. It's very slow and very heavy. It's called down tempo for a reason because they take the tempo all the way down. So these heavy hardcore bands like Hatebreed, Terror, Kublai Khan, they're way too fast to be considered down tempo.
So I guess that's what you would consider contemporary hardcore, like what it evolved into, sort of.
Yeah, throughout like 2005 to like
Now type
2000.
shit.
I guess yeah, since because Kublai Khan is still out there doing their thing and shit. So yeah, to now, not many of the bands who made heavy hardcore are still around to this day. Honestly, I think Terror might actually be around still.
I think they are. So what would you
And then
Well, I guess.
Stick to Your Guns used to make heavy hardcore. They took the heavy hardcore sound and fused it with metalcore, and it's a metalcore band.
They're the one that got in that bus crash, right?
No, that's see. Every time I say "stick to your guns," you say
I
that,
always
but
get
no,
them mixed up.
it's Ghost Inside.
Why do I always
That
get
makes
them
sense
mixed
because
up?
they would tour a lot together. The first time I ever saw "Stick to Your Guns" was with Ghost.
I think same. I think every time I've seen them, they like played together. But yeah, those genres I think are a good way to like set out like outward on the tree
Yeah,
stump.
yeah,
Yeah, because that would lead us into like the 2000s ish. Yeah, like where metalcore would be like end of 90s, early 2000s. And then after that, I don't know yet. We have to figure that part out. We have to figure out what goes next.
oh yeah.
You
Next,
know,
we can start. Well, because there's more things. We want to include stuff like Latin music because that has a huge influence on things.
we'll see,
In
because
fact, the heavy hardcore band I just mentioned, Knock Loose, put el reggaeton be in one of their newest songs.
I
So
feel like the Latin music and stuff would fall under folk. Like it would go under that folk pillar because it's world music would go like all around like folk style,
yeah,
I guess, whatever. So it'd be like
but I would
a
say that's one
channel.
of those ones that branched out and did its own thing too, because there's like cumbia, reggaeton, there's all kinds of different genres of Latin music. So
There's all genres of different cultured music. Like there's polka and there's like
yeah, and
different.
I was gonna okay,
That's why I'm like. That's why I would say it all falls under the folk pillar. Because then you could say
no,
that for
the polka,
every.
yeah, what the fuck?
Well, same with
Come on.
reggaeton. What the fuck? They're like the same thing.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. Polka and fucking reggaeton, bro. What?
Yes.
What?
What do you mean? They're like the same shit. They have
No,
like
they're not.
how are they not?
What the fuck? Maybe I'm remembering polka different than what it is.
It's just folk music for a different country. Because that's what I would say world. Because even like Ethiopian music is like kind not.
No, okay, so maybe this is more similar to cumbias.
But that's what I'm saying. They all like every country's
Reggaeton.
got their like.
Reggaeton is like Latin club music. It's that boom, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, polka is more like
Polka
hey,
has that
hey, boom,
too.
bum, boom, bum, boom, bum, boom, bum, boom, bum,
Yeah,
boom,
it's
bum,
just
boom, bum, boom, bum, boom, bum.
it's just from a different
It's
place.
it's cumbias. It's different from reggaeton. Polka is cumbias.
They are, dude.
I've never heard polka before. I guess. Dude, my friend Cabbage is gonna fucking have a ball with that. Polka is fucking cumbias, bro.
It do be.
I guess it is. Fuck.
Ow. But
From
yeah,
what I just heard, it's pretty similar.
they got it. Yeah, dude. I grew up listening to that shit all the time. I'm like, what the fuck? Why does it
Yeah,
sound so weird? And
click
then
on that and listen to it.
hearing a polka song and then being like, that's literally so close. But then
Listen to
there's
it.
just
So
it's called world music. Like world music is like anything from around. Like you got Asian
okay,
like
so
that
like
la la la.
K-pop. So you're saying like, oh, folk music is anything that isn't American?
No, it's American too. But like anything that's not like cuz there's like reggaeton that's like folk tale shit. Like there's like stuff that's cuz that's pretty much just country for Mexicans.
No, reggaeton is the club music, right? The boom, bada, boom, bada, boom.
I think that one's cumbia. No, I don't know.
No, the cumbias is more like with instruments and shit. You know?
But yeah, see, all of those come from like mariachi, though, right? And I would say mariachi falls from like the folk because that's where like all that stuff comes from. It's like I would consider folk to be like the stem of like where cultural music, I guess, kind of comes from. So that's why I think folk
Yeah, so
country would
cumbia,
fall under folk too.
yeah, cumbia is like Selena. You at least know Selena.
Yeah,
That is cumbia, and then reggaeton is more like club music. It's more like for dancing and shit.
isn't Selena, I thought it
A
was Selena
different, like a
not for
different kind of
dancing.
dancing,
I was gonna be
more
like,
like
that's
sexy dancing, bro. Like sexy dancing in the club, dog.
no,
You get what I'm saying? It's like the difference between Drake and Kendrick. Okay.
no, because there's
Joking.
there's like a version of like reggaeton that's like old ass like what is the like corridos and all that shit. There's like all these different versions of it where it's like folk tales. What did you say? Reggaeton. I guess yeah, I get what you're saying though. Reggaeton is like fucking Pitbull and all that
Cumbias is more
shit.
like, yeah, exactly. And then cumbias is more like real instruments, similar, but like the real instruments and different vibe to it. You know, it's all like upbeat. You know, they're all like functioning on the upbeat and everything, but it's like different. Reggaeton is like, like Bad Bunny does some reggaeton too.
Oh, okay. So, nor
Yeah, I fuck with Mexican music. It's fucking
Norteños are like
well,
the early
Latin music.
early music because that's the thing I was saying. So you wouldn't get reggaeton or any shit like that without the norteños, which is like folk music.
Yeah, that's the good shit right there, bro. That's the shit I want to.
The norteños.
Yeah, that is what I want.
Yeah, see, this is Mexican folk ensembles. That's like the predecessor I would fall from, I would think. Yeah, for next week.
We can do another. We could do a part 3, but also still focus around this same time frame because I
Mhm.
feel like we didn't focus enough on like electronic. There was like a couple different waves of electronic in the 90s and beforehand, like with like the German techno scene.
Yeah, that I want to talk about like Aphex Twin and all that shit because I feel like he kind of revolutionized what modern, like not modern techno and stuff. Like he and then he like broke off to be like there's so many different weird genres of techno. Like there's lowercase and ambient and fucking breakcore D&B. Like you have all these
Yeah.
weird different like break offs, and I feel like it was because Aphex Twin made a collective of music that people were like, "What the fuck?" and just kind of like got inspired. Like they're like, "Oh, you can just do that." Like there's literally an Aphex Twin
Telling me we
song.
don't have to follow the rules.
Exactly. Like he took a photo of his face. I forget what the term of it. It's like a vanogram or some weird like diagram of his face, and then he uploaded it into the software, and he wrote a song. Like he's not even writing a song. He just put that in there, and then he made whatever the song that came out of it. He put that on his album. So like
What the fuck? That's
it's
awesome.
just it's literally just like noise. Like it sounds all fucking crazy. Here, wait,
That's
I'm gonna
hilarious.
look it up real quick.
I actually love that.
Aphex Twin. Let's look up his genre. Techno, ambient, acid, jungle, drill and bass, and experimental. Wait, okay. I didn't know he came out this late. 88.
Practice 88.
Yeah, that's
Jesus.
crazy. I thought he was
Well,
like the 90s.
DJs also existed as just people who played music in clubs, though. DJ was a term, so you
But
really have that.
that's what he does. Like, have you ever heard any of his music? Pretty sure you've heard Flim.
I'm pretty sure the name is for sure.
If you see my screen right now, this like one he like uploaded. I want to say it was this or some shit. This is the photo he like put this into some plugin, and it sounded all crazy as hell. Spectrogram.
What photo?
So trippy.
Yeah, no, I don't have any of his music on any of my playlists.
Yeah, the song, he like layered a bunch of sounds to play whenever certain colors of the spectrogram was like triggered, and like throughout the whole song it's like chaotic as fuck. It's a crazy sounding, but it's like experimental as it's one of the most experimental things to like ever be done in music,
Yeah.
which is super admirable. Cause I'm like, how the freak do you think of that? Like, how do you think to just be like, I'm gonna upload my face into song form?
Dude, his fucking covers are so creepy. This is like what PJ was listening to in fucking Grandma's Boy. I think that's his name. The
Yeah, he
fucking
was.
Get on top of me.
He literally is listening to Window Licker. Like that's like one of the songs that Aphex Twin plays.
No way.
Yeah.
Really? That's so funny. I just said that then. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah,
Window licker.
Window Licker's like one of the like more popular songs that he did. And he's from Britain too. Like Britain, there's something over there that like just causes people to write great fucking music. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to add to the next realm. Like I don't know if we should do indie as another like genre maybe, but
Yes.
math rock too, like math whatever, because math has been a genre in the like, yeah, that I know it like submerged in like the late 2010s. Like it's a newer.
Math rock as a genre could have fooled me.
You've never heard math rock? You
That
don't know.
doesn't exist, bro.
You've never
I'm
heard
just
math
joking, bro.
rock?
I've heard math rock. I'm just joking. That's the meme about math rock. It's like a lot of people talk about math rock and then they're not able to actually define what it means. So I have no fucking clue what it is.
It's like
Someone described math rock to me as uh fucking the band that I was telling you, Nintendo Core.
oh yeah.
They said that was math core.
That is math core. Yes, that's
It's also Nintendo Core, right?
it. Just it like songs vary and stuff, but yeah, I'd call it more math core because there's changing time signatures is what happens in math music. Like
Yeah.
prog does the same thing, but
Okay.
in a different way.
Okay, so would you say that Scrams is math core with a bit of post-hardcore flavor?
Some can be like it's like some bands fall in that. That's the other thing why I want to set these genres up like how we were saying, like where it's like one genre's here and then the other one's here, and you can put bands in between to where it's like they're just a little more like scrams than they are math or whatever. But
You
like,
should actually make the color wave thing.
yeah, I need to start
Honestly.
developing the chart actually, so we have more of the reference instead of just like words.
German techno, let's look it up. I think German techno was like massively popular in the news.
Yeah, and then you had like Gabber and shit like that fucking popping off. Or was it Gabber or Gaffer? I think it's Gabber. And then dubstep later
Oh
on.
my god, dude. We already missed the chance to do German techno. Holy fuck.
When was that?
German electronic music, broad musical genre, specifically styles electro, class, trance, and some things I can't even say, is widely considered to have emerged in the late 1960s, early 1970s,
God
becoming
damn.
increasingly popular in subsequent decades.
Well, we had electronic at 73. So we weren't super far off, but I guess that's where Brian Eno is the only like person I know who like made it popular. And then as far as
Yeah.
techno goes, I know Aphex Twin kind of being the guy to kick that off. See, there's some bands like see, I don't like Polyphia. Polyphia is more prog. That's why
I
I,
like Polyphia, but their fucking guitars live are like, why are you that fucking loud, bro?
they're
Like,
like, we don't have a
you're
singer.
feeling, dog. Where you're fucking like, wow, 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 every 5 seconds, dude. Like, please turn it down.
They don't want to
So I
hear the
never want
thing.
to see them live again because it hurts the fuck. Even with earplugs,